Hi, this is IkwerreGirl Acheru, and I'm coming to you from Talk to Dot. My channel, as you know, is about exposing domestic abuse and domestic violence for what it is in different stages. And now we have the community feature, the join button where you can join and become a member, and you can post questions to me that you want me to trash out, questions that you want me to make a video of. And yes, there is a monthly subscription, but it's not that expensive. And besides, 30% goes to Google anyway. But yes, you can have access to me and access to a whole lot of perks, which you'll find out in my membership video, which is posted in the link. What do I want to talk about today? Domestic abuse is not what people think it is. Victims of abuse are not who people think they are. Now, there's so many misconceptions about these things. Now, when you talk about domestic abuse, generally people think it's physical violence, but the truth is physical violence only makes up a small percentage of it. Physical violence usually might be at the last stage of it. Usually the abuse starts from the mental part, from the head, from the psychology. Now, in emotionally abusive relationships, potentially you can be there for years and years and years and never get hit. At some point, you might get hit just to put you in place. But by the time you actually got hit, it might not mean anything because you're brain dead and you might just think you deserve it anyway. You understand? There is another category of people that from the first time they meet, it starts with violence. That's a different thing altogether. I think it's just a couple of messed up people anyway. But a normal person will not go into a relationship and first thing you do is you just get beating you and battering you and you stay there. It starts from psychological manipulation. That's where it starts from. Now, a lot of victims of abuse are not being physically hit, so you might not see them with black eyes, but they're going through so much mental torture that you cannot even imagine. It is terrible. It's a terrible place to be. Now you see two people, you see the abuser and you see the victim. A lot of times the victim might appear to be the abuser. Why? Because the victim never smiles. Now the perception we have about abusive people is that they are monsters. No, they are with six packs and muscles. To be honest here, a lot of buff guys, they don't beat their women. It's the skinny ones that do. Yeah, because I think maybe they're trying to prove a point to something. It's the skinny ones that are abusive ones. A lot of times, yeah. So, a lot of times you see two people, a man and a woman. One of them is really quiet, unusually quiet. Not quiet like they're shy, but quiet with that kind of aura like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Now, if it was a woman, the first impression you have is, what does she feel like? She doesn't want to talk to anyone. She doesn't want to be friends. But you know what? Potentially, she's just so unhappy. Potentially, she's been told, when we go out there, don't talk to anyone. Potentially, she's hoping that her quietness will make you ask the question. That her quietness will draw you to her to ask the right questions and kickstart that conversation. A lot of times, the abuser is the friendly one, the one that everyone loves, the one that everyone wants to be around, the one that you can never look at and say, that person is the abusive person. A lot of time, the victim looks the opposite. You know why? Because they've gone through so much torture and torment at home that when they come out, they can't smile. Now think about it. A person who is constantly manipulated, shouted at, slapped, threatened, they're living in fear because these relationships, believe it or not, are built on fear. Now, how does that person come out in public with the abuser and smile? How does that person come out and want to be chatty and have a conversation? How would they do that? You understand? When potentially, if they were chatty and bubbly and alive, they were going to go back home and have it hot and have hell. So a lot of times, people see two people and they tend to see the abuser as the good guy. And they tend to see the victim as the bad guy. Because emotionally, the victim has been wrecked. So, look around you. Do you know someone who's been abused? Have you been abused? Do you sense that someone around you might be going through an abusive situation, or a situation that is a bit not usual, very unusual? You see, leaving an abusive relationship is one of the most difficult things to do, because to the victim, they feel like they are failing their families. They feel like they haven't worked hard enough to make it work. Remember, the abusive person, most times we've painted a monster. They are not a monster 24/7. They are a monster at certain times. So the good times keeps the victim in the game. It keeps them believing that there is a possibility to cash into that part of the abuser that is good. But it is all a manipulative game. It's a game of this and that. So by the time the abused person, the victim, realizes that this is not going to change and they need to get out, it feels like they are failing. They are failing their family. They are failing the person they love. They are destroying the family, because literally they have to walk away. It makes them feel like they haven't tried hard enough. Also, a lot of people have been through abusive relationships and they've come out, but they don't talk about it. You know why? It's not because they are ashamed of what they went through, but they are ashamed of standing judgment to the public, who will ask questions like, did he hit you? Did she hit you? Was he cheating? Was she cheating? Did you try this? Did you try that? Obviously, when a person has been through all of this stuff and made their way out of it, they did try everything. In fact, they tried beyond what you can even imagine, and it all failed. But abusive relationships have a way of reversing the way the victim thinks, which is why, even though the victim has tried everything humanly and inhumanly possible to resolve the situation and failed at it, they believe they failed. But the victim did not fail. They did beyond their best. But those kind of situations, those kind of relationships, they can't be resolved. Not possible. What the victim needs are people that will support them, that will encourage them, that will make them regain their self-worth. Because trust me, in such relationships, everything about them is taken away. And that is the truth about abusive relationship. Now, if you know someone who's been abused, if you know someone who might be going through an abusive relationship, please know that it is not their fault. And please try to support them, try to hear them out, try to make out time to talk to them and find out what they're going through and help them. Don't assume. You see, one thing I've realized is if someone gets a job, for instance, and you don't see them anymore, the first thing you do is say, hang on, since you got that job, we don't see you anymore. What's going on? If they moved to a new place and you don't hear them anymore, or their countenance changed, you'll be like, what's going on? Since you went in uni, you're different. You behave different. You ask the question. However, when people get into a relationship or when they get married and they change, they seem to be quiet. They seem not to talk to their friends anymore. They seem not to be socially. They don't interact anymore. They're no longer social. They change their number all the time. They stop working. All the things they were passionate about, they stop them. But nobody asked the question like, what is going on? People just say, oh, maybe they're just busy with marriage and stuff like that. Maybe the new relationship, No one asked the question. The truth is, we need to start asking that question. If you know someone who just got into a relationship or who just got married, you don't hear from them anymore. They don't want to go to work anymore. They want to just move to this location that no one knows where it is. They don't take their phone calls anymore. It takes them 2-3 days before they can respond. They seem to make phone calls and it's on speakerphone or on odd hours of the day that's when, and they seem like they're whispering and in a hurry to make that phone call. Trust me, this is more than enough information for you to know something is not right. Now, a lot of times it might be at that stage, at the initial stage, difficult to get the victim to talk about it, but you need to find a way to get in there. Just like every other thing in life, if you saw someone's car being boggled, you'd call the police. You'd find a way to step in there. If you saw someone being attacked, or you saw, I don't know, a scorpion crawling into someone's house, they might get stung and they might get killed. It's the same thing. You see someone in a relationship that will mash them up, spirit, soul, and body, you need to step up. Because the truth is, if you see someone, if you know someone that came out of an abusive relationship, you need to give them an award. Because it is one of the most difficult things to do. Remember, they are not walking out of a relationship with their enemy. They're walking out of a relationship with someone that they pledged their love to, someone that they actually love, someone that potentially could be the father or the mother of their children. It is not easy. And besides, there's been so much manipulation and control and all that stuff going on for years. A lot of victims of abuse suffered from depression, complex PTSD. These two things alone makes it overly difficult for them to make the right choices in life. So why are you looking at them and saying, why are they there? Why would they? Marriage is not a do or die thing. You know, what are you doing there? They should come out now. They're not mentally stable because of the abuse that they've experienced over a period of time. That is the real reason why they can't make the choice to come out. That's the reason. So what they need is support, external support, to help them come out of it. If you're going through any of the things that I talk about in my videos, or if you know people who are going through these things, please get help. Please talk to someone. And remember, it is not your fault, and you are not alone. There's so many people. Abuse is going on. It's taking place. Someone gets abused, assaulted every 9 seconds. So it is not as uncommon as we think it is. It is very, very common. It's happening to the best of people. People around you, everywhere. I tell you something, right? Since I started my channel, it's been 1 year now, talking about domestic abuse and domestic violence. I will say maybe 60% of the people I went to school with, people I grew up with, people I've worked with, I've lived with, have sent me private messages to say, what you're talking about is my life, was my life. To tell you how common it is. It's happening everywhere. As always, from me to you, talk to dots. One love, peace, guidance, respect.